Hello there, and welcome to another session of JLB Star of the Month. I'm so excited, and thanks to all those who are watching live. We have 22 people watching live on LinkedIn, which is a healthy number. It's 26 now. Excellent. Thanks to all our viewers. Say hi, hello, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you're watching from. So, a brief introduction of what we are doing today. I have a community called Jobsearch Like a Boss. You probably just saw the ad of it before this session. The idea is to make job search a community effort rather than a lonely ride. I won't be talking much about job search like a boss, but if you have any questions, please reach out to me or check out my website at vinishbalan.com/glb. So one of the perks of being the part of the community is every month we put a poll within the community of who inspired the community the most, and they get an opportunity to do a live interview live on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And that's what we are doing today. So this month's star of the month is Malathy Madhavan. She is a software test engineer. Her story is very interesting. And the good news is okay, let her reveal the good news. That's on to you, Malathy. But the story is very interesting and inspiring because she's a software tester and she's done a lot through his career, and she has coming back to the market after an 8-year gap as well. So it's a very interesting story. She'll be interviewed by Kim, who is a senior quality coach, and she's been in the industry for about 20 years now. So I'm excited to see how things look. So without any introduction or without any delay or without me boring you, let's get into the interview. But please remember, say hi, hello. The more noise you make, the more the video is promoted and the more people see it. So if you have any questions, please do leave a comment at the end of the session. We'll pick up a few questions and answer that as well. So welcome, Kim and Malathy, to the show. How are you today?
Hi, Vinesh. Thanks for having us.
No worries at all. So I'll get off the screen now. The stage is yours, Kim, and congrats, Malathy. I'm looking forward to your interview.
Thanks, Vinesh, first of all, for this opportunity as well as for that awesome introduction.
Yeah.
And Malathy, did you want to start with your good news or finish with the good news at the end?
I think I would finish off with the good news.
Okay, that sounds good. So I'll start by saying thanks for joining me today. So as you know, I'm not hiring at the moment, but for the purpose of this showcase interview, we'll say that I'm a test manager for a superannuation company, and we're hiring a tester for our digital team, which is the website, the mobile app, and the APIs. And you've been shortlisted for this first interview round based on your CV and your cover letter, which is great. And it would be about a 15 to 20 minute chat to learn a bit more about your experience and also to answer any questions that you have. So to get started, can you please tell me briefly about your background?
Yep. First of all, thank you, Kim, for joining this session and accepting my request and spending some time with this showcase interview. And coming to your question, well, during my educational years, when software languages were in the introductory phase in my part of the country, I was quite curious and mesmerized with the magic it does. That's how I started my career as a software developer. And I realized my potential in testing when I started spending more time in reviewing and critiquing my own code and my peers. In a way, my experience in development paved to my improvement in my testing skills. And then there was no looking back. Realizing my potential and passion, I was given a chance to lead the quality department in my first company. So when I test a product, I become the sensible user and a bad user as well. And this approach helps me to verify the features on one side and identify the vulnerabilities on the other side.
Can you tell me a bit more about a sensible? Sorry to interrupt you there. You caught my attention with the sensible user and the bad user. Can you explain a bit more what you mean by that?
So sensible users are those who knows what are the values to be entered in the application, how each of the elements in the application works, and what is it to be used. But there are users like say people in old age. They are a bit clumsy, so they wouldn't be able to handle the application, how to click the buttons and what to enter in text box or text area. And there are other categories like hackers who would be entering wrong data, misuse data. So they are the bad users. So we should be
Okay.
testing application from both these point of view because we want to secure our application.
Okay.
So
And
coming back
please
to
come back
yeah.
to tell me about your background. Thanks.
Yeah. So during the last 4 years of my career, I was working as a tester in the capacity of a test lead as well as a defect analyst. And now, when I decided to come back to workforce after a short career break, um, I made a assessment of the market so as to understand what the hiring managers are looking for in a candidate like me. So, leveraging on my existing skills, I upgraded my technical capabilities and core skills like API testing, using Selenium for test automation, learning languages like JavaScript, advanced JavaScript for scripting. Now, when I come to appear for interviews, I come with a collaborative mindset to be of the right help to the team as well as myself to identify what quality is and where the responsibility of quality lies.
Okay. So you covered a few things there that you've learned recently when you assess the market. Can we drill down on one of those in a bit more detail and just talk me through how you went about learning that skill or that tool? I'll let you choose which
Right.
one.
Yeah, sure. I did a few of them. So, as I mentioned, when I realized that I have to come back to my job search mode, I I realized I need to upgrade into the current relevant technologies. And with more applications moving into microservices model architecture, I thought it would be wise to learn API testing.
Hmm.
So, with the help of my mentor and tested founder, Catherine Carina, I underwent API testing training from the Maverick tester Anne Marie Charrett. So, her session, um, made a huge change in the thought process of how I approach an application under test.
So
And
I know
this, yeah,
I know Catherine and Anne Marie fairly well. So can I assume that it was hands-on training?
it was hands-on in-person training and quite extensive. And the session covered um, on the thought process, on mapping your thought process using mind maps, um, using Postman for API testing, and how to use a certain strategy for API testing. And it was this widely known as with the mnemonic POISED. And each of those
Poised.
alphabets stands for different test areas like parameter, output, interop, security, error, and data in this case.
Okay, so how
So,
would you apply that mnemonic for the example that you were working on?
see, suppose you're doing a testing of an API, uh, and for example, let me take the output aspect. When you run the HTTP request, you will get an output. You can check whether the output is correct, what you are expecting,
Hmm.
whether the output is received from the cache or is it from the database actually. You can look at the status code, see whether that is the right status code for that response.
Hmm.
In case an error is happening, is it the right status code for that error? Is the message that is being displayed, whether it is the right message that should be displayed corresponding to that status code? So this is one example.
And were you writing those tests within Postman or were you checking the responses manually?
I was writing the test in Postman, and
Okay.
also I was using Newman to execute my all the test cases in there.
Okay. And what language were you writing the tests in?
That was in JavaScript.
JavaScript. Okay. And next question. So imagine that you've joined the company, the superannuation company, been working here for a month or two, settled in, and you join a team that's testing a product which is already live in production. So it's our existing superannuation mobile app. And there's a new feature customers have requested that they can elect to receive an SMS when a deposit is made into their account. So talk me through some of the areas that you might test for this feature. And feel free to ask questions along the way.
Sure. Since the application is already in production, I would assume that all the features that interfaces with the push notification feature is working perfectly fine. And considering that,
do you mean, for example, sorry?
Sorry, the all the features that will be interfacing with the push notification feature, and that is already in production and it's working fine. That is my assumption.
Right. Yep.
Yep.
That's a safe assumption.
Considering that I have not tested such a functionality earlier, I would probably go with the testing strategy, which is widely known as the mnemonic SF depot, where each of these alphabets represent different product elements. So this is the strategy I usually use whenever I'm doing a new testing.
Okay.
The SF depot stands for structure, functionality, data, interface, platform, operations, and time. Now let's consider the structure product element. Looking from that point of view, probably we would think of how the feature would be deployed in production. Okay, I'm also assuming that the SMS would be sent using a third-party service. Hope I can assume that. Yep. In that case, we should be thinking of the collateral that is the legal binding between the third party and our application. So we should be considering that.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on to the functionality product element, we could think of what is the size of the text message? What is the type of message you're sending? Is it plain text? Does it contain special characters? Does it involve other languages? Does it include HTML tags? In that case, how will it be rendered on the customer device?
So I hadn't thought of other language support, so please keep going.
Yep. Will the message contain links? Can an outsider mimic the messages, the sent messages, so that he can hack the customer device? In that case, we should be thinking of the security aspects like authentication, authorization, from where the notifications are triggered.
Mm-hmm.
Now, considering the data element, we can think of risks involved when the data is in transmission, like tampering of the data, inclusion of malicious code or malware. And then moving on to the time element, we could think of situation like, suppose a transaction is being made during midnight. Does the user want to receive a notification at that point of time? Can the user
probably not?
Yeah. Can the user configure that aspect from the user side? So these are the few tests I could think of now.
Okay. Is there anything around usability? You've mentioned the not wanting to receive it at midnight, which is a good one.
Yeah. From the usability point of view, if you when the user receives it, is it being displayed in the right format? If he has to respond in a yes or no format, is it being displayed in the right way? So these are the few things we can think of.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I put you on the spot there. There's a lot that can be covered, but the SF Depot is a good go-to to help you with brainstorming something like that.
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to ask, what personal qualities do you think make you a good tester?
Talking about personal qualities, like boasting about myself. However,
if there was a time to boast, it's probably during an interview.
Exactly. Yeah. I have to be humble enough to showcase my skill here. Yep. I find myself quite enthusiastic to learn new skills, which is actually related to my existing skills. So when I learn something new, I try to practice it in the next opportunity I get. And also, I try to create some kind of YouTube videos, create articles so that I can post it on LinkedIn, or try to teach to someone, which is the best way to to be thorough with that new topic. So that and this helps me to this quality helps me to keep up to date with the latest testing techniques. Another quality which I consider helpful as a tester is the understanding of the developer mindset. As I mentioned earlier, I had been a developer for 6 years, working on C# and PHP. So I clearly grasp the developer's biases, which is actually required for the developer to build that application the first hand. This in turn helps me to explore the issues that could arise due to those biases. And furthermore,
Can you
yeah.
can you think of an example of a developer bias or an issue that might arise from that?
Right. Um, each developer has his own way of coding. For example, how the exceptions are handled. So whether he uses status 500 as a generic way of reporting the exceptions, or does he use specific kind of status code related to that very specific error? So I could progress in that area if I'm aware about it. So that's one example.
Thanks.
Yeah, and furthermore, whenever I try to report the bug, I try to use the developer language, which avoids ambiguity.
Yep. Excellent. Anything else you wanted to cover off around personal qualities?
I think these two are the best ones, which helps me as a tester.
No problem. So having returned to the field of testing recently, can you tell me what you understand around exploratory testing? So what is exploratory testing? When is it appropriate? When is it maybe not the best answer?
Right. During the API testing session with Anne-Marie Charrett, she had covered a little bit of exploratory testing. So my understanding is exploratory testing seeks to find out how the application actually works. So it emphasizes the tester's freedom and also the responsibility to optimize her work. So essentially, exploratory testing is exploring the application to evaluate it and design and execute the test simultaneously.
Yep. And
Now,
when is it a good idea to do exploratory testing, do you think? So what sort of situations do you think exploratory testing can really add value to the team and identify risks?
Right. I guess it would be best to use when you have to give rapid response about a feature. If you have to do certain focused context-based testing, when you are testing very critical feature. So probably in this case, you could be using exploratory testing.
When you say rapid response, I'm guessing you mean for a new feature rather than regression. Is that right?
That's right. So the developer has just informed you that there is a new feature which she has developed, whether we can give a quick feedback to just know where it's working, or in case of smoke testing, where you have to give quick feedback.
Yep. And can you think of scenarios where it might not be appropriate or might not be the best use of time?
Like, suppose you have to test the feature with a lot of data. In that case, you would avoid exploratory testing. Also, in situation like you are testing for um, uh, compliance, regulatory compliance, like accessibility guidelines, WCAG version 2, or security testing to cover OWASP top 10. Also, in situations where you have to collect testing metrics to convince stakeholders. So, in those cases, you cannot have exploratory testing.
Testing metrics is a whole nother topic, but
Exactly.
Speaking of testing metrics, when do you think automation testing is appropriate or not appropriate?
Well, my experience in test automation is quite limited. However, with whatever I have learned in the last few years on um, test automation helps the tester to the how much he can test, like in terms of number of users, the load, number of times, and number of configurations. And you can automate the test in situations like you have repetitive test when the tests are takes longer to execute, when when you're testing a frequently used functionality, when you're testing a functionality which uses multiple data. In such situations you can automate the test. And the situations probably you would avoid automating the test are like um, where you have to verify the feature visually in case of usability testing. Um, yeah, these are the things I could think of right now.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you answering, even though you haven't got recent experience with test automation. So it's good to get that. I have a last question around time management. So if after a few months you're settled into the new role and you notice that you have picked up or been assigned more work than you can reasonably complete for a particular sprint or deadline, how do you handle that situation?
Right. I should say I had been practicing SMART goals to practice time management the last few weeks. However, I had been faced with one such situation in my one of the projects I did earlier. So what I have tried to use was setting expectations. So what I do usually is every morning I send out the tasks in hand and also my team members' tasks. So this would ensure the team as well as the managers know what to expect from me for the day, and also to discuss if there is any dependency of their work with my tasks. And by the end of the day, I would again report the progress of my task. So there was proper communication between within the team. This helped me to improve my to you know even when there are a lot of tasks to be done, this helped me to set expectations and get to the end of the project.
Okay, thank you for that. That's the end of my questions. Is there anything else that you wish I had asked you that you'd like the opportunity to bring up, or anything else that you would like to ask me?
Yeah. I have worked on banking domain in my career, though superannuation is quite different from banking. um, I'm quite confident that I can learn it quickly and be productive sooner. However, I would like to know whether the company provides some kind of training or induction support so that I can be up to speed um, quickly.
Yep. So this company that I have invented for the purposes of this interview, we have a wonderful onboarding program where we train up new staff with a standard set of training around domain knowledge, and then we will put you into your team where you'll be paired with a buddy who will show you through the tools we use, where documentation is stored, and hands-on use of the product as well.
That's great. It's great to have a buddy so that I can bombard with a lot of questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you, Kim, for all the questions and the time and effort.
No problem. Thank you a lot, Malathy.
Brilliant. It's hard enough to just give an interview, and Malathy nailed it giving a live online interview. We still have about 30 people watching us on LinkedIn, so you had an audience. You are not alone on this. but
That's
I think
interesting.
you nailed it. So go ahead, give us a good news. That's the key highlight of this session as well.
Well, I'm very much excited to give out the news. After 8 years of struggle and trying to find a job, with a lot of help from people like Catherine Corinne, Vinish Ballan, Anne Marie Charrette, and many others, uh, I have secured a role and will be starting tomorrow. I'll be joining as a software tester and in a superanimation domain. So it will be quite challenging to learn superanimation and as well as exciting. So I'm looking forward to that.
Excellent. I'm so happy for you, Malathy. I mean, like you said, it's a journey that you've gone through. It took you a long time to get here, but we all can see that you had that in you, right? I mean, the way you presented yourself today, your interview, that questions, I think I particularly liked your dig against developers when exceptions are a problem and every coder has their own DNA. And me being a developer can get that. I mean, we always go on lockets on each other, so that was an interesting perspective. And I see a lot of comments and people sharing the same sentiment as well. So thank you so much for your time, Kim and Malathy. This isn't easy. I mean, to whoever is watching it, like I said, doing an interview is hard enough. Doing a live interview is it's on another level. But Malathy nailed it. Thanks, Kim, for being creating a hypothetical company and asking questions on behalf of that as well. It was fun. But you absolutely deserve it, Malathy, and big congrats again. You're starting tomorrow, isn't it? So it's a new journey after a long time. All the best to you. Is there something both of you want to share before I conclude the session?
I know that
I
Malathy
ca-
went ahead with this in the hope that even though she has a role already, that other people might learn from interview skills. And I really think it's great what you're doing to help others to learn at the same time as building up your own skill set. And Vinesh, I hadn't heard of Jobsearch Like a Boss until last week, and I think it's fantastic. So well done.
Thanks, Kim. I appreciate that.
I have to thank Kim for coming, accepting this in a short duration, and it's really appreciated. And Vinesh, I can't thank you enough. You have been support in the last few months with your job search like a boss initiative, and I have you would notice how I've grown from 2 months ago and how I'm now. Thank you so much for that.
The good quality of you, Malathy, is you've not just grown or you have not just transformed yourself individually, you have inspired the community as well. And that takes skill, right? It's one thing that you evolve, it's another thing that you give that back and inspire the community. People like you and Ankit, who we have done in the last interview, they somehow inspire everyone who's around them, and that has huge quality in there. And we will miss you on JLP, by the way. I will keep poking you back into the community, but thank you so much. So Kim and Malathy, thank you so much for your time. To all those who are watching us, share this video. If anyone needs help, reach out to me, reach out to Malathy if you have any testing related questions. And good luck to you, Malathy, as well. And thanks for everyone to watching. I'll see you soon. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.
Best of luck,
Thank you.
Malathy.
Thank you.